Good to go. Good morning, everybody. Monday, December 14th, Board of Control. Will the clerk please call the order?
Good morning. Calling the roll for the December 14th Board of Control meeting. It is 11 a.m. Dale Miller. Here. Dan Baker. Here. Trevor McAleer serving as an alternate for Dan Brady. Here. Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Armin Budish.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer. Here. Dave Marquardt serving as an alternate for Mike Dever. Here. Lenora Lockett. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, moving on to reviewing the minutes from December 7th. I'm going to make a motion to approve these minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lee Tucker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes are reviewed. Moving on to our next item, public comment. Is there any comment from the public out there? Feel free to speak now. Okay, no public comment. Moving on to contracts and award.
First item, BC 2020-649, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with Endicott Microfilm Incorporated for countywide maintenance on Codex scanners for the period July 30th, 2018 through July 29th, 2020, to extend the time period to August 7th, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $499,865.84.
Good morning, Janelle Green on behalf of the Department of IT. This is an amendment to the contract that was entered into with Endicott Microfilm, Inc. We had originally had an RFP placed in 2018 for these services, where they were awarded on July 30th of 2018. These scanners are for various agencies within the county, recording conveyance, Board of Revisions.
I'll definitely talk to them about that and get their evaluation.
Someone is not on mute, I'm sorry. So recording conveyance, Board of Revisions, HHS, clerk of courts, other parts of the court system, and some of our general office areas. The funding for this, the pricing for this has not changed since 2018 and is going to be the same until the end of the contract in 2022.
Thank you, Janelle. Are there any questions from the board on this item?
Yes, this is Dale, and I have one question, and it says to whether the pricing is a flat rate or whether it's based on the amount of use.
It's a per machine price. So each equipment, once they did the RFP in 2018, they gave us a price for each of the machines that we have, and it's a flat rate for each of the machines.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions on this item?
Nan Baker has a question.
Sure, please.
So I understand why this is late, but the answer isn't a great one. I thought we talked earlier that when someone is on leave, there's always someone to make sure that everything proceeds as it should. Do you have, any process in place that when you're gone or anyone else is gone, that things still do continue as they should?
Right. So as a result of this issue, we'd have amended our processes in order to make sure there is backup, and we are actually able to hire another person, and we'll have other postings for other positions. Our department in the business area has been significantly understaffed, particularly in this year. So we have other postings, so we'll make sure that we try to avoid this issue moving forward.
Okay, that's good to know. And you also stated that due to a series of technical issues, I mean, you're in IT, so what technical issues did you have that you couldn't overcome?
So the approval, one of the issues is one of the approval processes. So if you notice, the accounting units on this are not IT items. So that would mean that I am not the fiscal approver for them. So they had to go to the various areas for approval, and making sure that the queues were correct and making sure that the approvers were aware of where they had to go to get it approved was one of the obstacles we have. And one of the things I wanted to clear up about us being in IT, so there's an IT department, there's the IT department in general, but there's specific functional areas of IT that handle certain things. So the ERP team does, the troubleshooting and things like that. But my team is in the business division, and we are beholden to the same rules as set forth by the business owner, which is in this case of this part of the system is procurement or OPD. So we have to follow the same. We don't have any. We don't sidestep the process because we're IT. We follow the same processes. As other end users, such as HHS or such as Public Works, we have to follow that same rules as everyone else. So there's no pushing or urging for us just because we're in the same department. We do have to follow the same process, which is a requirement of why the system is set up the way that it is. So unfortunately, we ran into some technical issues with some approvals and different things like that. But once we were able to navigate through that, we were able to get this item over into the Board of Control agenda for approval.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Would you say the delay was more to the absence of your leave, or was it more to the technical issues?
I would say probably about 50-50.
Really? And you feel that you have the processes in place now that both issues are taken care of? Right. So, in my absence, I have a backup person, and then also with this issue, because of the queues weren't right as far as who were approved, they were corrected. So for the things that we can control, we definitely have improved our processes. Again, in terms of the system, we're not the business owners, especially in my team. So if there are any other issues, I'm sure that procurement is working on them with the ERP team. Okay, good. Well, thank you for your answer. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Lenora Lockett, Director of Procurement. Can I make a comment?
Yes, proceed.
Hi, as part of the ERP system deals with budgeting, the general ledger, procurement, AP. So all facets of the system must work. And there are certain approvals that, yes, for a purchase, you need the approver, the funding source needs to be approved. That is not a procurement area per se. It is part of the procurement process. But each department can choose for the different accounting codes who is the approver. So that there was a general upload that was done initially, and as things progress, things will need to be tweaked. And that's only based on, unfortunately, finding out that maybe this code needs to be approved by someone else. It's not necessarily that procurement is about the whole best practices of if a department is making purchases and is being funded by these different sources, the entities that are responsible for that budget should have the authority to make that approval. So that was one of the issues there. So as we have a system that works and all facets of the module speak to each other, all those different links have to be, they were uploaded in a mass way for the entire county, but obviously as large as this county is and the overall changes that we're experiencing, there's going to be certain tweaks, and it takes all of us being involved and reacting accordingly to make the system and maximize the benefit of the system.
Thank you, Lenore. I appreciate that. Any final comments on this item? Hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Dave Marquardt, second.
Thank you, Dave. Seconded by Mr. Marquardt. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2020-650, County Treasurer's Office recommending an award on a purchase order to Weekly's Mailing Service Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $45,000 for the purchase of postage for mailing of the 2020 last half and 2021 first half Easy Pay coupons, ACH letters to participating taxpayers.
This is Bert Wajkowski from the Treasury, and this award is an annual award. These funds cover the postage that it costs to mail out the Easy Pay coupons and ACH letters to any participating taxpayers in Cuyahoga County who have signed up for the Easy Pay program, where they can pay either through coupons or letters. The postage that is provided not to exceed is an estimate that is to provide for the maximum number of mailings that would go out, and any unused postage after either of the mailings would be returned to the county within 30 days after the actual amount of postage used is calculated.
Thank you, Bert. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, this is Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-651, County Treasurer's Office recommending an award on a purchase order to the United States Postal Service in the amount not to exceed $220,000 for the purchase of postage for real estate property tax bills for the first and second half of 2020 and a third tax bill mailing for past due payments.
This is Bert Wajkowski with the Treasury again. This is the postage that we are needing to mail out we do an annual bid each year to award business to a printing company to send out the real estate property tax bills. There is last half, first half, and a past due mailing, so 3 mailings total. The amount covers all 3 mailings. Just as with the weekly's postage, any overage that is not used by the company that was awarded will be returned to the county within 30 business days after the actual amount of postage is calculated.
Okay, Bert, thank you again. Are there any questions from the board on this item?
This is Nan Baker. If I could just ask a point of clarification.
Sure, please.
I've done mailings myself in the past, and usually it's a finite number. They know what mailing, who they need to go to. They have the list. They know where it's going. Why is it that it's undetermined as to why and how much they need for postage when the list is there? They know what the list reads and how many people are going to be receiving these. What is the question?
The lists are not finite. They do change every year. The Easy Pay, this applies to both of the Easy Pay coupons and the tax bills. The Easy Pay coupons are based on taxpayer participation, so the list can change from year to year. depending on how many people sign up or if people cancel. With regard to the tax bills, the number of bills that are printed can change based on whether or not a taxpayer is having funds, having their taxes paid either through an escrow account by a bank or if they are paying themselves. That information actually changes every 6 months with the tax bills, as we have lenders that send in lists of those particular parcels that they're responsible for and the ones that they're no longer paying. So the not to exceed number that is provided is based on prior taxes, assuming the maximum number of mailings that might go out, so that we have the funding available to provide to the vendors to mail out in a situation where, let's say, everyone for the Easy Pay program signed up, we have the maximum amount. So it does actually change every mailing, and that's why we do a not to exceed amount to ensure that the vendor has enough postage to mail, and then, of course, any unused portions are returned.
And in the years of your experience of doing this, are you pretty close to what it is that the not exceed amount is?
The not exceed amount is based on the maximum numbers. I've actually been with the county for just a year. This is my third collection. So based on the numbers that I saw, I do see, particularly with the Easy Pay side of it, that the amount is a bit higher. This was questioned as far as possibly lowering the not to exceed amount, and the information I was provided with was that they did not want to reduce the not to exceed amount in the event that there was a spike or increase that we could not account for, and then we would not have the postage available to mail out the additional items. So the amount is based on the maximum number of people that might participate in any one mailing.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that explanation. Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any final questions on this item from the board? Very well. Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second. Nan Baker.
Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2020-652, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Senior and Adult Services, submitting a grant award from Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging in the amount of $204,820.21 for the Older Americans Act Senior Community Services Program in connection with the Aging and Disability Resource Network Grant Program for the period January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021.
Good morning. Paul Porter, Health and Human Services, on behalf of the Division of Senior and Adult Services. This is an annual grant award that DSAS receives through Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging, and this federal funding helps DSAS's Information Services Department do a variety of community outreach events, including primarily benefits checkups events, where we help connect seniors to cost-saving benefits like prescription drugs, utility assistance, things like that. And looking back at calendar year 2019, the last full year that we have data on, this helped connect seniors to over $580,000 in cost-saving benefits. And I know that there's a levy match mentioned there. We usually just include a portion of the staff salaries for the folks that are doing this work as part of our levy match.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, this is Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Moving on to exemptions, item BC 2020-653, Department of Public Works recommending an alternative procurement process on requisition 3433, which will result in an award recommendation to W.W. Granger Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $49,500 for purchases of various industrial supplies for the period December 7th, 2020 through March 31st, 2021.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. This item, we're recommending an alternative procurement process. It's going to result in an award recommendation purchase order to Granger. It's going to be a not-to-exceed purchase order. The alternate procurement reason, we had done a bid earlier this year for various industrial supplies. We bid it out informally as a competitive process. We actually had 3 bid submissions. Granger was the lowest bidder. That resulted in a purchase order for $20,000. Just recently, we had a second informal bid that we conducted for related industrial supplies. Did a competitive informal process. We actually had 3 bids this time. Granger happened to be the lowest bidder again at the direction of OPD because we were going to make an award for $49,500 combined with the initial award earlier this year for $20,000. It exceeded $50,000 with the same vendor in a calendar year. We had to submit this alternative procurement process. So this will eventually result in an awarded purchase order to Granger.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second. This is Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2020-654, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 3879, which will result in an award recommendation to United Way of Greater Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $1,145,450 for fiscal agent services and emergency food purchase assistance by hunger centers serving eligible Cuyahoga County residents for the period January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021.
Good morning. This is Chris Alexander on behalf of Cuyahoga Job and Family Services. We are seeking an exemption to award a contract to the United Way of Greater Cleveland, who is the fiscal agent for the county emergency food dollars. We have entered into this agreement for the past quite many years. On an annual basis, United Way takes a very, very small percentage of the emergency food contract dollars to manage the disbursement of the dollars, to provide quarterly reporting, to provide customer feedback from the Hunger Network pantries that receive these dollars. And these dollars, 100% of these dollars are required to be spent at the Cleveland Food Bank. So this is the structure, if you will, utilizing the county emergency food dollars over the past decade or so with United Way as managing those dollars. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, then I'll make a motion to approve this item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. This is Dale.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda, items BC 2020 655 through 659. And if I may, we are amending item BC 2020-657 to change the assignee name and the effective date. And if I may read that into the record as amended. Item BC 2020-657, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Solar Testing Laboratories Incorporated for construction material testing services for the period September 3rd, 2019 through September 2nd, 2022, to assign interest to ECS Midwest LLC effective September 22nd, 2020. No additional funds required.
Okay, board members, please take a moment or two to review the consent agenda item. If anyone has any question, feel free to speak on any of the items.
This is Nan Baker.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed why 657 was taken out or read outside of the others. What was the reason for that?
Because we're amending the language from the printed agenda from the original. So instead of engineering consulting services, it now reads ECS Midwest LLC. And instead of February 29th being the effective date, it is now September 22nd, 2020.
So a name change and a date change, correction, I should say. Yeah.
All right, then I have a question on that, if I may.
Sure.
In the answers back about the change of name and then the engineering consulting services answer, it also states that there's still $245,000 remaining in this contract, or $218,944 remaining of the $245 in this contract. After since 2019 and now into 2020, so it's been over a year. Why is it that this has been dormant?
Dave, do you have an answer on that, or is Nicole on the line?
Nicole isn't here. She told me about 10 minutes before the meeting to call in. I believe that it's been dormant because of the testing that these companies do, that they haven't been having the need at this point in time to do additional testing. And so it's being extended into the next construction year.
Okay, it seems odd to have it and not be used, and then have an extension with no additional fund required, but,
Yeah, the work is basically the same. It's just that when a construction project takes place, that they'll do the testing for that project. What I don't know is exactly why it wasn't used up first, other than we didn't do the amount of testing that was listed.
And what type of testing is it?
They test construction materials like asphalt, pavement, and concrete.
Right. All right, I certainly will support this, but if I could get an answer back as to why we haven't needed to test, given we thought in September 3rd of 2019, 245,000 would be needed.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Are there any other questions on today's consent agenda from any of the board members? Okay, hearing none then, I am going to make a recommendation to approve today's consent agenda as amended. Do I have a second, please?
Second, this is Dale.
Councilman Miller, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Today's consent agenda is approved. Moving on to other business.
We do have other business. We have one-time sensitive mission critical item, BC 2020-660. Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, recommending an award on a purchase order to Quality of Life Healthcare Services, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $24,999.99 for emergency placement services for the period September 4th, 2020 through December 4th, 2020.
Good morning, Paul Porter again, Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Senior and Adult, Children and Family Services. This is a mission critical item for a placement that was done back in September for a youth who has developmental disabilities. and DCFS has been working with the Board of Developmental Disabilities to qualify this youth for services under the federal Medicaid waiver program through the Board of DD. My understanding is those services are still pending for this child. So DCFS may end up coming back with an amendment to add this vendor to the out-of-home care master agreement. But this mission critical item will help cover the first part of that placement. And the reason for the delay in this, there was some confusion on our team over whether the mission critical process needed to be done in a different way in the new system. Because this is technically still a purchase order, we didn't have to go a different route, but that was the reason that there was a delay with this.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any, first I want to amend today's, I don't have to, I'm sorry, I'm such old habits. Are there any questions on this item?
Mike, this is Lenora. I had a question.
Sure, please.
Paul, the date says December 4th. So is that when the $24,999 expires for this time since the mission critical?
Correct. That is the anticipated date that funding ran out for it. I clarified with DCFS before this meeting that the child is still at that placement. They envisioned it as a more temporary placement than what it has turned out to be. I think due to delays on the side of the Board of Developmental Disabilities with getting the child switched over to their funding stream.
Okay.
So when we come back with the amendment, we would make sure that it was effective as of the end of that period.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any further questions on this item?
Yes, I have a further question.
Sure.
And if you could say a little bit more about the delay in getting the funding switched over to Department of Disabilities, and whether there would be any backdating of the effective date on when it starts with Department of Developmental Disabilities, and whether we might get any reimbursement.
Sure. I will have to research about whether that can be backdated, so I can certainly follow up on that request. What I do know is that, as I just indicated, with having to do an amendment to add this vendor, we would make sure that that amendment was effective at the end of this mission critical period. I don't know the particulars of this specific application with the Board of DD, so I hesitate to make any kind of guesstimates about it, but I will inquire for further information and follow up with you.
Okay, well, I would appreciate that. We don't want to have to spend a whole lot more money than necessary just because their process is slow.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. Any last questions on this item? Okay, hearing then, make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second, Dave Marquardt.
Seconded by Mr. Marquardt. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, item approved. Moving on now to public comment. Now's the opportunity for anyone to speak publicly. Comment? 1, 2, 3. No public comment. Moving on to the adjournment. I'm making a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lee Tucker. All those in favor say aye.